congressional report released Monday and first obtained by Outside the Line reveals that at least half a dozen top NFL health officials waged a behind-the-scenes campaign last year to shape the science around football and brain disease. The report by Democrats on the House Energy and Commerce Committee was sparked by an OTL investigation that raised questions about the league's commitment to health and safety. The NFL rejected the report, saying it was deeply disappointed. Allegations were directed at doctors affiliated with the NFL Head, Neck, and Spine Committee without ever speaking to them. Stephen A., what do you make of this?
What I make of this is that the NFL looks very, very bad. They can slice it any way they want to, and I'm quite sure there are nuggets of truth to what they're saying. We don't know all the intricate details, who communicated with whom, etc. But when you have congressional figures quoted by name on the record questioning the integrity of the NFL and their ulterior motives as it pertains to research involving CTE, knowing the history of the NFL with concussions and beyond, knowing the lawsuits that they're entertaining, knowing how they anticipate former players coming down the pike with these same kind of injuries, etc., to vow in writing and pledge in writing to give $16 million and then to renege on that offer. That's very, very bad. And then on top of it all, to be informed that if you don't follow through on your promise, that taxpayers are ultimately going to have to pick up the tab and still elect not to give the $16 million. It looks very bad. It doesn't matter that you threw $2 million to additional research and what have you. You tried essentially, according to them, to manipulate who the researchers actually are. That involves undue influence, which is what congressional figures were alluding to when they spoke about the absence of integrity on the part of the National Football League. And it transcends to so many levels, because DeMaurice Smith certainly was going to pounce on this like a piranha. I mean, this is the executive director of the Players Association who just seems to be totally committed to bringing Roger Goodell down, even more than doing his actual job, as far as I'm concerned. You got a situation where he spoke out against it, and you're just saying to yourself, okay, it's valid. You can't dismiss those arguments. There is a dissipated level of trust towards the NFL and Roger Goodell on the part of the players. Eric Winston, the president of NFLPA, a guy that everybody respects and seems to be a straightforward kind of guy, he spoke out about the lack of trust that the players do and should have for the NFL. This does not look good, and it does not bode well for the NFL. And it transcends this particular instance because, as I said off the air to you, Skip, when you have something like this in our face and it speaks to integrity, issues involving the NFL, it doesn't just stop at CTE, concussions, etc. It also transcends to Deflategate. It also transcends to or transfers to other issues involving players where you're looking at the league as a partner and recognizing that you don't really see them that way because they can't be trusted. The NFL doesn't look good here. They look incredibly petty, and more importantly, they look incredibly, incredibly cheap, because what boggles my mind is that they're projected to make, when they signed the new collective bargaining agreement years back, they were projected to make about $18 billion annually. The owners themselves pocketed $226 million apiece from profits, revenue profits last year. We're talking about $16 million. You could have just gave them the $16 million and let them do their research. But no, you tried to manipulate it even to that point. It just shows how frugal they truly are and how committed they are to spending as least money as possible, which lends itself towards believing that they'll do anything to keep an extra dollar in their pocket, which does not look good for them.
You make some fair points. Everybody anti-NFL on this issue always makes some fair points. But I'm going to defend the NFL to a degree here. And I'm going to start with an eye-opening piece that I read in today's USA Today. Bear with me for a second.
Please.
Because it quotes the doctor who took the brunt of the criticism from this congressional report that we're speaking of. His name is Richard Ellenbogen. Okay? I don't know anything about him except from what I read in Tom Pellissero's excellent piece. He's quoted liberally in this piece. Richard Ellenbogen was the co-chair of the NFL's Head, Neck, and Spine Committee. So he's the point person for this who's taking a lot of this criticism. And it's based on 2 private conversations he had with the director of the National Institute of Neurological Disorders. Okay, so he had 2 private conversations that were made public by this director, I won't say his name, 2 congressmen who included this as the crux of their report. And Dr. Ellenbogen is quoted in USA Today as saying, "I never talked to Congress. No one ever asked me my opinion. I had 2 private conversations, and this is a lesson. I guess big government can crush you if you disagree with them. I'm trying to protect the kids," because this doctor, a neurosurgeon, has been on a long campaign in which he's gone to every state in the union to increase its laws to protect youth football players, because he worked on one who nearly died named Zachary Lystat, and he wants this called the Zachary Lystat Law. So he's fighting to protect kid football players. And he keeps saying, "I'll take a lie detector test that I didn't say to that director what Congress said that I said, that it was misconstrued and misrepresented." So the crux of everything you just said came from these 2 private conversations, according to this doctor. My point is, you say the world is gray. You just threw that back at me. This is pretty gray to me, because if you read these quotes, I'm like, wow, maybe there's some truth. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle of this.
Right.
But my point is, look, has the NFL strengthened its concussion protocols? Hey, yeah, it has, right? But here's the bottom line. Is the NFL a benevolent society? Is it a church or a charity? No, it's in the big business of pro football. It's fighting big government in Congress. And obviously, a lot of congressmen have leaped aboard the anti-NFL pro-concussion bandwagon that is rolling right now to please their constituents. They want to get reelected too, right? So this is a hot potato issue. A lot of congressmen are saying, yeah, we got to get the big bad
they did
NFL.
the same thing with the whole steroids era in Major League Baseball.
Okay,
You're absolutely right.
Okay, I got it. Because it's big government, big business NFL. And this is way over our heads in a lot of ways. But in the end, I look at what's happened in the NFL. Did they have a responsibility to inform every player? I've lived with this for decades in covering the NFL. So many players, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I know? And sometimes, you know what I say back to them? Gee, shouldn't you have some general awareness that if you're putting on a helmet and you're running as fast as you can and hitting head-to-head with another player, a great athlete like you, that some bad stuff can happen to your head?
Well, let me tell you why I would respectfully disagree with you in some respects in that regard, in all seriousness. When you are an athlete, you primarily think about things in the moment. When you're talking about absorbing and addressing the risk, you don't anticipate things affecting you down the road.
I got it.
If you survive while playing. So when they say to you, they're willing to embrace the risk. Skip, if you get your knee shattered, they understand. You know, you're going to get that, you might recover. You might not be able to play football anymore, but you'll be able to walk again. If you get your arm broken, if you get hit in the back pretty hard in spite of, they get that kind of stuff because the immediacy of the damage potentially inflicted is something they can absorb. But CTE, you know, that's an entirely different ballgame because what happens there is you're talking about decades down the road where residual impact can affect you. And what they're saying is, just like Will Smith did, and when I didn't just interview Will Smith on camera, we talked extensively off camera, and he was like, him and the director of the movie, it's like you have a right to know. And so when the NFL comes across as making a concerted effort to minimize your ability to know, that's where it becomes problematic. But I don't just hold them accountable. Once again, and it's hard for me because I actually genuinely like and respect DeMaurice Smith. But I hold him culpable to some degree. Now, some would say, how? Because, again, it's labor relations, but then there's labor negotiations, but then there's labor relations. My goodness, I'm not trying to say Gene Upshaw was the best or the worst or whatever, even though my respect for the late Gene Upshaw, God rest his soul, has elevated exponentially, listening to our former colleague here, Robert Smith, who is just the best. I miss him so much. This guy worked under Gene Upshaw, and you're talking about labor relations where you cultivate relationships with the NFL. So in some matters, you're working in concert with one another to assist the players outside the legal realm. But because everything is legal, the NFL, as wrong as they may be, like you say, in doing what they're doing, because this is a business, might be more receptive to involving you and working with you if they didn't believe every damn thing was going to turn into a court case.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem.
Do you want the NFL to get to the level that it finally says, hey, don't play our game, it's too dangerous?
No, but that's I don't know what the word for it is, but that's not genuine, and here's why. You don't have to say that. It's just like cigarettes, man. These are the dangers.
Yeah.
People gonna still smoke. These are the dangers.
But for a long
people
time,
still
know what you're dealing with.
But many years, people didn't know the dangers of cigarettes. But it was clear
but that's not
that
what
people
I mean.
were getting hurt badly in football.
But that's not what I mean.
Like
what
from
I'm
the
saying,
start.
What I'm saying to you is that you can give all the warnings in the world.
Yep.
Okay? Like, you know, you talk about my sister all the time. Everybody know my sister Carmen. That's my ace. Love of my life. Carmen needs to stop smoking. That's her one vice, and it drives me crazy. She won't stop.
Okay.
Okay? You have people that ain't gonna stop doing that. You got people that ain't gonna stop playing football.
But we have a whole lot of players in their 20s who have walked away. God bless.
Right.
That's your right.
And how many people are waiting to replace them?
Okay, well, that's
The
what
game
we
ain't
just got a
suffering
whole
because
new
of them.
crop of kids get drafted.
That's right.
And they have the right to say no.
That's right.
Nobody's going to make them play pro
But they
football,
also have the right to know
Everything they're signing up
know
for.
everything they're signing up for. They have that right. In the NFL or the Players Association have no right in any way to assist tacitly, directly, indirectly, mistakenly, or otherwise to keeping it from them. They have a right to know.
Right.
Yeah.
According to the NFL, a 32% increase in concussions from 2014 to 2015. Back to the NBA, though. Have you guys seen this baby? This is Steph Curry, and some are saying Steph looked a little more like Steph. He took over the internet in Game 3. Which Curry shows up tonight in Game 4? We preview it next.